Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be recapping the Orioles and Cardinals Game 3 rubber match that just ended about 20 minutes ago, where the Orioles unfortunately I have to say this once again this season, unfortunately the Orioles lose once again 6-4 in this game, and that means that they did once again lose another series. The Orioles are kind of back to where they were just a few days ago. They're back to being 17 games under 500. They won 3 games in a row. Obviously, the final 2 games against Boston, then Game 1 against the Cardinals. All they had to do was win one of the next 2 games. After that Game 1 win against the Cardinals, all they had to do was win one of the next 2, and they would have taken the series. And they had the lead in Games 2 and Game 3, and they lost in both of those games. Today, the Orioles were up 3-0 early in this game, and Cade Povich kind of collapsed near the end of his outing, and that was really it for the Orioles because the offense couldn't really get things going late into the game. So just another unfortunate loss, a loss that felt very dead, lifeless, soulless, everything altogether. You know, they were panning the camera over to the Orioles dugout. They were showing Gunnar. They were showing Ryan Mountcastle. They were showing Jackson. They were showing Cedric. And just everyone looked so dead inside and so honestly confused and just also just kind of shocked on like what's going on this season. Because really when you take a step back and look at it in a whole, it is pretty crazy what's going on with the Orioles this season. And at the same time, it all starts with Mike Elias. I've said this multiple times this year, and as the season goes on, obviously we're going to keep talking about this more and more until he is gone and out of a job. But Mike Elias is a big root core of this entire problem. Again, the Orioles win 3. The Orioles had a 3-game winning streak, and now they are on a 2-game losing streak, and they did lose this series against the Cardinals. They have not won a series since their series win over the Angels back in like early May, and it is almost June now. So once again, the Orioles' struggles do continue. We all kind of thought to believe that maybe the Orioles were back. You know, I was preaching it. Orioles fans were preaching it after that 3-game winning streak. You know, it really did feel like the energy was shifting in this team. But unfortunately, the Orioles once again show us this season that we just cannot have good things at all. A lot of the time this year, when the Orioles start to have some sort of life, it just kind of gets completely flattened and crushed by 2018 Wheelers over and over and over again. So, again, the Orioles' struggles do continue, and let's just get right into this game. So going over this game between the Cardinals and the Orioles, again, the Orioles lose this game 6-4. They're 19-36 on the season, back to being 17 games under 500, and they are on the verge of 20 wins, but they're also on the verge of 40 losses. So just completely embarrassing and pathetic what we're seeing from this Orioles team. Going over the offense in this game put up 12 total hits, scored only 4 runs, and once again, it was an atrocious game with runners in scoring position. There were so many opportunities for this Orioles team to go out there and put up a lot of runs, and they just couldn't do it. 3 for 17 with runners in scoring position. Yesterday they went 1 for 14, and today they went 3 for 17, and they lost both of those games in a pretty close fashion in both of those games. So Jackson Holliday got the leadoff today. He did very well. Another excellent game from Jackson Holliday at the leadoff spot. He went 3 for 5 and drove in a run. His average goes up to a 275. Jackson's been one of the very few positives on this Orioles team this season. Obviously, you look at Jackson Holliday, you look at Ryan O'Hearn, you look at Cedric Mullins, and you look at Tomoyuki Sagano. Those are really the only positives from this Orioles team this year. And again, I'll say this a million times, but I'm really glad to see that Jackson Holliday is getting better. I'm glad to see that he is taking strides and is taking the next step, because again, he is only 21 years old, second youngest player in baseball, right behind Jackson Chirino. And again, this team has so much young talent. I mean, we've gone over this before, but Jackson Holliday again is a pillar for the future of this team. Obviously, former number one prospect in baseball, former number one pick. But Jackson Holliday has been doing very well this year. 275 average, another 3-hit day for him. And for a guy who's only 21 years old, it is pretty crazy. So shout out Jackson Holliday again for being one of the few bright spots of this team. Adley Rutschman in this game, he makes his grand return after being out for I think 3 to 4. I think he was out for 3-4 games due to that him being in concussion protocol after being hit in the face mask by a ball that hit him back in the face. But Adley Rutschman comes back from that concussion protocol, and he goes 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. So another horrible game by Adley Rutschman. But I am glad to see that he is back, because obviously this is better than a Chadwick Thromp or a Gary Sanchez, even though he's not even healthy. Better than a Gary Sanchez, better than a Michael Handley. But cool to see Adley back. He was DHing this game. Michael Handley did get the start at catcher, and he actually did better than Adley Rutschman because he at least got a hit in this game. But Adley, horrible game. I'm not sure if it's because of the concussion protocol and stuff, but I mean, we've seen this all year from him, so don't really know what to expect from him. I don't really know what to expect for the future with Adley either. Adley Rutschman, again, is a guy that a lot of Orioles fans have really talked about possibly trading while his value is still pretty high, and just kind of relying on Samuel Basallo to be the catcher of the future. And at this point, I would be completely fine with that, because at this point, the Orioles can't really move anywhere positively. So we might as well just go out and go on a spending spree and trade people. So we'll see what happens with that at the trade deadline. But that is a thought that we should keep in the back of our minds. Gunnar Henderson goes 0 for 5. He has not done very well recently. It's been a while since he's hit a home run. Hasn't been doing the best recently. Average is down to 254. But Gunnar Henderson, for his standards, is having a pretty off year. But again, it is the 2025 Orioles, so what do you expect with that? Ryan Mountcastle has a multi-hit day today. He goes 2 for 5. Shout out Ryan. Jorge Mateo, pinch runner. Ryan O'Hearn goes 1 for 4 with a run scored and a walk as well. Got on base twice. Ryan O'Hearn, obviously, he's a spectacular player. He's been doing this thing. And he actually had a chance to walk off the game with a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth. We had 2 guys on. Ryan O'Hearn came to the plate, and he grounded out to first in the first pitch. But, again, Ryan O'Hearn has been excellent. Does have another hit today, so that is good to see from him. And shout out Ryan O'Hearn for being who he is, and shout out to him for being one of the only bright spots of this team, along with Jackson Holliday. Ramon Urias in this game goes 1 for 3 with a run scored. Cedric Mullins goes 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored. Michael Handley goes 1 for 3 with an RBI. And then Dylan Carlson out in left field with another multi-hit game goes 2 for 4 with a run with an RBI. So Dylan Carlson has really stepped up recently and been very good for us with all of the outfielder injuries that we have. So shout out to him. Obviously, I gave him a lot of praise when we were winning those games, and he was a big part of the reason why we won those games against Boston and in Game 1 against St. Louis. But going over to the pitching in this game, and this was a collective loss. Obviously, the pitching didn't do amazing, but the offense obviously went 3 for 17 with runners in scoring position. So the blame goes to both sides here, and mainly Cade Povich. Cade Povich goes 4.2 innings, gives up 8 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, and has 9 strikeouts. So the strikeout numbers were high. Obviously, 9 strikeouts in only 4.2 innings. So that is good to see from Cade Povich, but he does allow the 8 hits, 3 walks, and 5 runs as well with a 96 pitch count, and his ERA goes up to a 5.29. So Cade Povich with, again, a pretty disappointing and underwhelming game. Doesn't do good, obviously, gets lost in this game. 1-4 on the season, and Cade Povich is playing pretty much just like he did last year. Hasn't really gotten better. I will say one thing with Cade Povich that has gotten better from last year is the strikeout numbers are high. Last year they really weren't that high for him, but he is a strikeout pitcher. He is very similar to a Max Fried type of player who really does rely on the swing and miss, in the movement of his pitches. So Cade Povich obviously has had some games this year where he's had a lot of strikeouts. Obviously 9 strikeouts through 4.2 innings is really good in this game. And actually the Orioles pitching staff as a whole produced 16 strikeouts in this game, but they still lose because they go 3 for 17 with runners in scoring position. So again, just a collective loss overall. Matt Bowman goes into this game. He is back. He goes 2 innings in this game, gives up a hit and a run. Andrew Kittredge 1 inning, gives up 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks. So he lets 5 base runners on. It doesn't give up a run. So shout out to Andrew for fighting through the traffic. And then Sir Anthony Dominguez goes 1.1 innings and gets no hits, no runs, no walks, and 3 strikeouts. So pretty good by Sir Anthony Dominguez there. But if you go over and you look at the ERAs of all of the pitchers that did play today, Andrew Kittredge obviously with a 2.25, but at the same time, he hasn't really pitched that many innings because he is just coming back from injury here pretty recently. Cade Povich, though, our starting pitcher, a 5.29 ERA, Matt Bowman, a 5.1 ERA, and Sir Anthony Dominguez, a 5.3 ERA. So what do you really notice there? What do you notice there? Very below average pitching in terms of ERA for all those guys, and that is a big theme for this Orioles team as a whole this year, not just the bullpen but the starters as well, especially the starters. But again, just another really disappointing loss, 36th loss of the season, and I really did have hope, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I really did have hope that things might be looking good. Obviously, they won 3 straight games. At the same time, we got the news that Colton Cowser, Jordan Westburg is going to be in AAA, coming back soon, and then all this stuff. And then also, we got news recently that Kyle Bradish did throw, I think, around 35 pitches in a bullpen session. So hopefully, he'll be coming back. I mean, he said he's targeting an August return, so hopefully it's maybe sooner than that. And then who knows about Grayson Rodriguez anymore. But, we won 3 straight games. Things were looking good. Energy was looking good. Pitching was playing good. Injuries were coming back slowly. And things were really starting to move in the right direction for the Orioles. And then it all kind of just got thrown into the trash can and set on fire because the Orioles go up 1-0 in this series against the Cardinals. And then all they needed to do was win one of the next 2 games, and they would have won this series and finally gotten a series win. And they lose both games. And then they lose the series once again. And as I've said multiple times here recently, the Orioles are in no position to be losing series anymore going forward until they're back to being at least 500 or maybe even a little bit above that. They cannot afford to lose a single series moving forward. There is no more wiggle room with this team. We're back to being 17 games below 500. Obviously, if they go out and they lose the next series, which is this weekend, to the White Sox, and we'll get to that White Sox series in just one second because that series is really going to tell me everything that I need to know about this team. But the Orioles are 19-36 on the season. It is May 28th, 2025. It is actually my birthday today, yeah, it was my birthday. The Orioles did not give me a very good birthday gift today. Just like last year when they lost on my birthday, they also lost this year on my birthday. So that's back-to-back years with a loss on my birthday. Shout out to the Orioles. I appreciate the birthday gift and the birthday losses. Really does mean a lot. But, yeah, the Baltimore Orioles once again lose. Very unfortunate game. Offense looked dead. They showed the team in the dugout. They looked dead. Pitching was dead. And this team kind of, is back to where they were just a few days ago, where they're back to being 17 games below 500, and they do have a day off tomorrow, thank God, because this team really does need a day off. But going into this weekend series, it is going to be against the White Sox, and this series is going to tell me literally everything that I need to know about this team moving forward. Obviously, the Orioles are an extreme, they have a lot of talent on the roster. They're just not producing wins out of it. Obviously, the pitching for the Orioles has been horrible, and the offense has gone into their slumps and been very lazy and bad with runners in scoring position. But from a name standpoint and from a talent standpoint, there are so many talented players on this team, which makes it even more frustrating that we're 17 games below 500. And that's where a lot of this, anger and stuff comes from, is just because the expectations of this team were so high and we've completely disappointed and completely fallen flat. And we all know why. It's because of the pitching, but even with the pitching being bad, this offense is still severely underperforming. So it's just frustrating all around for the Orioles. But we are playing the White Sox this weekend, and the White Sox are arguably the worst team in baseball from a talent standpoint. It's them and the Rockies. The Rockies are obviously 9-40 something. The White Sox are 18-38. The Rockies are like 9-40 something. The White Sox 18-38, and the Orioles are 19-36. So the Orioles are right down there with these guys in terms of record. I mean, if we go to the standings and we go to the overall standings of the season, the Orioles have the third worst record in baseball, and it's the Rockies at 9-47, the White Sox at 18-38, and the Orioles at 19-36. So there's only 3 teams that haven't hit 20 wins this year. It's the Orioles, White Sox, and Rockies. And the fact that, I mean, it really disgusts me that I'm having to say that we're in the same breath of the standings as the White Sox and the Rockies. Man, this is crazy, man. If you told me this a year ago, I would have called you an absolute psychopath. Last year, around this time last year, the Orioles had the best record in baseball, and the White Sox obviously had the worst record in baseball. White Sox and Rockies were horrible last year. White Sox and Rockies were horrible last year at the bottom of the standings, which they still are right now. But the Orioles were literally at the top of the standings at this time last year, and now a year later, after a very uneventful and disappointing free agency, the Orioles are back down here at 19-36 and the third worst record in baseball. Sometimes all you can really do is just sit back and just laugh at the situation that we're in, because this is absolutely ridiculous. The Orioles with the second worst run differential. The Rockies are last with a negative 175 run differential, which is absolutely insane. But the Orioles are second worst with a negative 97 run differential. And I think third worst is the Athletics at a negative 89. So that is very interesting. The Orioles are really just down here with the bottom feeder teams right now. And it's really just insane, the fact that we're down there. But we do play the White Sox this weekend. And if I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, and I'm just going to say this flat out right now, because I know the talent on this team. I know how good this team is talent-wise. I know how good this offense can be if they really just lock in and don't decide to be, idiotic. And I know that the pitching can settle in and do well because I've seen it before. It's just been very inconsistent. I'm going to be honest with you guys. If the Orioles don't sweep this series, we're going to have a problem. Because from a talent standpoint, this Orioles team is miles better than the White Sox. It's not even comparable. That from a talent standpoint, obviously from a record standpoint, the Orioles and White Sox are within one game of each other. But from a talent standpoint and how they should be performing on the field, the Orioles should, and I'll say this again, they should do well in this series, and they should win this series. At the minimum, take 2 of 3 or sweep. If they, and I'm just going to say this right now, obviously if they win this series, that's exciting. If they sweep the series, that's even more exciting. This is the White Sox we're talking about. If we lose this series, and if we lose 2 out of 3, and for some godforsaken reason we get swept, that will tell me everything that I need to know about this Orioles season, and we can kind of just move on knowing that it is really over. If we lose this series to the White Sox this weekend, I think a lot of Orioles fans, probably myself included as well, will probably just throw the white towel in on the season officially. A lot of Orioles fans have already done it, and I don't blame them. There's never been a team in the history of the league that's been 15 games below 500 and made the playoffs that same year. So I don't blame people for throwing the towel in. But if we lose this weekend to the Chicago White Sox while we're at home in Baltimore, if we lose this series, there will be major problems with this. I mean, there already is major problems. It's going to get even worse. These tickets are $9 because both these teams have been playing like absolute trash all season. And from a talent standpoint, obviously the Orioles are significantly better than the White Sox. But if we lose this series, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be a good look at all. Tomorrow, the pitching matchup is Sean Burke versus Zach Eflin. Both of them have had pretty bad seasons. Obviously, Zach Eflin in his first 4 or 5 starts had an incredible year. He got hurt. He came back, had a really good start, and then his past 2 starts have been pretty horrible for the Orioles. And I pray that Zach Eflin just isn't in a slump right now. Hopefully, he'll be able to recover, settle back in, and get back to where he's supposed to be after facing the White Sox. It's a pretty easy assignment. Obviously, I say that now, and he's going to go out there and give up 9 runs, and we're going to lose this game by 15 runs, and it's probably just going to happen. But we should win this game. Zach Eflin, obviously, technically we have the pitching disadvantage in this game because Zach Eflin's ERA is at a 5.4, Sean Burke's at a 4.3, but Sean Burke has walked 30 batters in 54 innings and let up 49 hits in 54 innings. So his whip's at a 1.46, which is ridiculous. But to be honest with you, it's like average Oriole pitching numbers, so it's really not that big of a deal. But the Orioles should go into this game on Friday and get the win. Obviously, we do have the day off tomorrow, so there's not going to be an episode tomorrow. But on Friday, obviously this weekend, we're going to be posting episodes about this series. And if the Orioles don't win this series, there's going to be major problems. Another thing that I wanted to go over really quickly today was that Ravens OTAs did officially start today. I think they actually started yesterday in a very minimal way, but today they really did get ramped up and started. And I do got some quotes from some players and John Harbaugh throughout these Ravens OTAs. Obviously, it's exciting. Football is coming back soon. And seeing Lamar Jackson out there putting on his jersey, seeing Zay, seeing newly acquired DeAndre Hopkins, seeing Rashad Bateman, seeing all these guys was really, really, really cool. And I do have some quotes to go over regarding the Ravens and regarding their OTA starting. So at the bottom here is a quote from John Harbaugh, and this was a big one for me. This was a very, very big one for me. It was about Isaiah Likely, and obviously we know what happened with Mark Andrews and everything like that. But John Harbaugh kind of does semi-confirm that Isaiah Likely is going to be the guaranteed tight end 1 of this team. Because reporters were asking him, what are some expectations for Isaiah Likely this season? And John Harbaugh flat out said, we expect him, that his expectations for Isaiah Likely are for him to be an all-pro player. And an all-pro player is a huge honor, obviously, in the NFL. It's a huge honor in the NFL, and it's also very big expectations that you can put onto somebody, especially for somebody who has been a tight end 2 their entire career, up until this season, obviously, which this kind of confirms that Isaiah Likely is going to be tight end 1 moving forward. Mark Andrews is officially going to be tight end 2 on this team. Obviously, Mark Andrews is still going to have a pretty important role. Every receiver on this team is going to play an important role because of how deep we are with guys like Zay, Bate, D-Hop, and then obviously Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews as well. That's 5 very good receiving targets. But with everything that's gone on with Mark Andrews, with him aging, and also what happened last season, his struggles, especially in the playoff game, that I don't really want to talk about because it'll just make me sad. But Isaiah Likely, obviously, his connection with Lamar just seems to be far more superior than the one with Mark Andrews. We saw multiple connections over the past couple of years between Isaiah and Lamar, and their chemistry is crazy. I mean, it really is like peanut butter and jelly between the two. They are an absolute crazy combo. Likely and Lamar. They're amazing. I mean, you can just see the chemistry. Even in the playoff game this season, in that final drive that Lamar was able to get it within 2 for the 2-point conversion that eventually Mark Andrews did drop. You look at the catch that Isaiah Likely made. You look at everything that happened at the end of that game, and you can clearly see the chemistry and the connection there between those two guys. And Isaiah Likely is officially tight end 1. That is actually huge news. Obviously, all Ravens fans, everybody was hoping that this would happen, but this does confirm that. So that's very, very, very cool to see. Going over another quote that John Harbaugh was saying today. It was mainly saying about Lamar Jackson and his work ethic, about the offseason. And as Harbaugh said, you can tell how hard Lamar Jackson has worked this offseason based on how well he threw the ball today. And he said he's ready to get going. So obviously Lamar Jackson, we love the man, MVP in our hearts, should have won it this year. That's a story for another day. But Lamar Jackson seems to be ready to go for this season. And obviously for guys who are getting paid a bunch of money, a lot of the times they won't show up to OTAs because they are not mandatory. But Lamar Jackson obviously is a guy who just loves to play football. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this video of Lamar, doing a little chest bump with Tyler Linderbaum. You can just see how excited he is to be back. And then also this video made me just made me smile. DeAndre Hopkins, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, the wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 for this team. In reverse order, obviously, Zay, wide receiver 1, Bateman, wide receiver 2, and D-Hop, wide receiver 3. You can see these little mini routes that they're running. D-Hop looks nice. D-Hop looks ready to go and fresh. Obviously, he is older. Everyone's going to call him washed. But people said that for Derrick Henry last year, so hopefully D-Hop can go out there and prove those guys wrong. It is pretty surreal seeing DeAndre Hopkins on this team. For the past few years, a bunch of Ravens fans, including myself, has been very we've been kind of wanting to get DeAndre Hopkins on our team because, he's been a guy that's been in trade rumors a lot of the time and been somebody that the Ravens, it just feels like he should be a Raven, and him being a Raven and seeing it now is just so cool. Another quote from Isaiah Likely. It says, Isaiah Likely said the practice went awesome today and said it was great to have Lamar Jackson back in the building. Also another quote down here, which is really crazy, from Isaiah Likely, where he said it's either my ball or nobody's. So Isaiah Likely, obviously an amazing one-on-one deep ball catcher. We've seen him multiple times. I'm thinking more specifically towards that Jaguars game last season, where he absolutely had an incredible catch in that game. If you know, you know. So Isaiah Likely, obviously, it seems like he's going to be obviously a big part of this team moving forward, which I'm excited about. I've always been somebody who, especially last year, said that Isaiah Likely just looks better than Mark Andrews. He moves better than him. The abilities and skills are better than him as well, and it looks like he's finally going to get that full breakout tight end one moment. And the last quote that I want to go over today is about John Harbaugh talking about the attendance and the overall vibe of today. He said that the attendance was great and praised the work ethic of the team. He said, we want to coach, we want players to be here. So again, the attendance was great. Players are showing up. Obviously a picture of Lamar Jackson back at it again. Very exciting to see for the Ravens, and I'm just so excited for football season, especially the way that the Ravens season has gone this year. I really just cannot wait for football season to start. So that's going to be it for this episode of Birds of a Feather. A little bit longer of an episode today because we did have to, we were talking about the Ravens today. Obviously very excited about football season starting. But yeah, my name is Nathan Stroud. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Make sure to, if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and like the video if you like this content. If you're on Spotify, make sure to follow up on the video and give this episode a rating as well. I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me, all the kind words as well. And if you like this content, make sure to subscribe and follow, and I'll see you guys in the next one. No episode tomorrow. I'll have an episode back up Friday talking about the Orioles game, and I'll see you guys in the next one. You have a great Australians night. Peace out.